Okay, so we're going to talk about value, and we are starting with the features, which would be eye, nose, mouth, if your nose and mouth are showing. So let's first talk about how not to do the eye. So this would be an eye that is not quite right. Okay, so do we recognize that as an eye? Yes. But is it super realistic? No, not really. So things that are kind of wrong with it, this shape, it is eye shape, but it's a little bit too open. The middle part of your eye is called the iris, the colored part, and it is a circle, but we don't see that floating circle. Our eyes are not like peeled crazy wide open, and then our eyelashes aren't just like, we know they go above our eyes, but they're not just straight up. So let's slow down and get the eye correctly in here. So I'm going to draw my left eye. So one thing that we want to do is really stop and get the shape correct. So because of the way that our eye sits and our eyelid sits, most of your eyes are not so wide open. So it's a little more narrow. Next, I'm going to the iris. And again, I'm looking at my picture. I'm looking at my reference and how it is. So it is circular, but I really don't see the top of the circle or the bottom. See if I can zoom down in a tiny bit. Okay. So that is closer to the shape. So next, I know I have my pupil. These aren't super high quality printed pictures, so my eyes are dark brown and it just kind of blends with it, but I know my pupil is there. And then I have these highlights, or the reflections. So I'm going to draw those out and mark those out so I don't color those in. So I know that my pupil is darkest, so I'm going to press hardest with my pencil. And then I have brown eyes, so I'm going to kind of lay that in, but avoiding the highlights. Okay, so, and then the iris is the colored part. The edge of my iris, and I think a lot of people's, is a little bit darker, has like a darker ring, so I'm going to kind of draw over that. So as we are working on the feature, we don't just want the eyeball, we want kind of all the skin and the area around it. So if you look at your picture, a lot of people have this eyelid crease right here, and it's kind of dark, so I'm going to draw in that darker line that goes above the eyelid. And then, and I guess, well, I kind of have like a crease here from where I was smiling. And then eyelashes, so some people, they just kind of make like a darker outline around the top of our eyes. Some people see them, it just kind of depends how your eyelashes are. I can see mine like a tiny bit. I have like tiny little eyelashes. In this picture I had mascara on, so they show up a little bit better. But they kind of like curl and are like a little wispier than like straight up crazy lines. And then I have a tiny little crease down here. And then we want to start getting some of that skin as well. So as we looked in the examples, we have a shadow under our eyebrow coming down to the corner of our nose. So really lightly, I'm going to put a little bit of shading down underneath, starting to build that skin. Right here, kind of in the middle, is the highlight. And then right here, the tear duct area is a little bit darker, so I'm going to lightly put that in. Okay, so now I take my blending stub, I use the side, and this is kind of where we get kind of more realistic and more skin-like. So again, I'm using that angle, kind of trying to go in circles. I'm trying to avoid the really dark outlines because then it's just going to get darker. And I'm going lightly over that, trying to blend that out. If we look, this part of your eye, the white part, is called the sclera. We know it is white, but when I put it next to the white paper, it is actually a tiny bit gray. So I'm not going to add any extra pencil in here, but I'm really gently going to add that a little bit. And then I think I need a little more shading on the top, and I'm going to go back. Sometimes when you shade, it can lighten it a little bit too much, so I'm going to add in those eyelashes a tiny bit more. You can also use your finger if you prefer. Okay, so, and I think I kind of lost my little tear duct area. So then if I'm looking at it, there's also this tiny highlight, the very, very corner of my eye before it gets to that dark spot. So again, if you get too dark when you're blending, you can just go and lift or erase that and kind of put that back in to give that lighter spot. Okay, so then I'm going to go ahead while I'm here and talk a little bit about eyebrows, just since they are beside it. So first we would want to get the skin down. So no matter what your race or ethnicity is, or how light or dark or tan your skin might be, no one's skin is as bright white as the paper. It's all a little bit gray, so, or darker gray, again, depending on your complexion. So we want to get that down before we start doing the hair. So I'm gently getting some of that gray down to get my skin. And then again, I'm using that blending stub to kind of go over that. So then for eyebrows, you probably have the outline shape. And we want to actually, I would erase that shape. It's a placement holder, but no one has like this nice outline around them. They're just kind of there. So then, once I have my skin down, I'm going to draw little lines so that I actually have realistic looking texture of eyebrows. So I wanted to get my skin done first because I want to leave those little hair lines. I don't want to blend those out, or it's just going to be like a dark circle, bubble. So that is building our realistic eye. I feel like I did a little better in these examples, this one. But that's relatively close. Okay, so that is what we are going for. So start with your two eyes and kind of the skin around it, and then we can talk more about different features later.